Okay, welcome everyone to week two, session two of 7 Habits of Highly Successful Teenagers. Last week was very good, and a lot of interaction. And I'm trusting that you will interact today and you will interact very well. Yes, and you will interact positively and you will experience positive changes as we go along. Later on, after this, or there will be a session for us to talk about what we've learned, what we've done during the week based on last week's session. Once again, I'm reminding you, please type in what you learned from last week and how you managed yourself last week. I think you had an assignment last week of identifying 3 areas that you can be more proactive in. 3 areas that you can be more proactive in. And earlier on, the person that joined, I don't want to mention any names because I promised you I won't be mentioning any names, but the person that joined quite early, we were having a chat earlier on, and he was sharing with me the three areas that he had been able to be a little bit more proactive in, which is absolutely fabulous because this is the purpose of this training. You learn stuff, you go away, you practice it, and in fact, you turn it into a habit because that's what's going to make you successful. So having said all of that and knowing that you all can't chat with me because you've shown your preference not to show your face or let your voice be heard on the system, I'm just going to continue with today's session. If that's okay with everyone, is that okay? Okay, I take that as a yes. Okay, so like I said, welcome back to the second week of second week and second session of 7 Habits of Highly Successful Teenagers. Mastering these 7 habits, I am telling you, will make you a phenomenal person. Okay, so I'm just taking it back down. Ebon, I can't see you. So again, just as a reminder, your trainers, the 7 Habits of Highly Successful Teenagers is delivered to you today by the Next Chosen Generation CIC, presented by myself, Yetunde Adeshile, and Ebon Babayemi. Okay, just very quickly running you through the agenda for today. Our agenda is that we will do welcome and housekeeping. We've done the welcome, and I think we've done a little bit of the housekeeping. So moving on from there, we've done the welcome, we've done the housekeeping, and now, of course, we're going to be doing a quick recap of the 7 habits that we went through, each an individual habit from last week, so that as you practice them, you will remember them. You will remember habit number 1, number 2, because we did number 1 last week. The one this week will be easier for you to remember because that's the one we're going through this week. And then, of course, the other 5, we'll still go through them. The more we repeat, the more you pick up and the more it remains in your memory. Then we're going to do a quick review of habit number 1. And then we're going to go straight into habit number 2, which is be proactive. Habit number 2 is start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. Sincere apologies. I believe I've got it right on the other slides. That's what happens when you try to write over one slide. And then you've got the questions and answers right at the end, just like we did it last week. So we're ready to go. Okay, so welcome to session 2 of 7 Habits of Highly Successful Teenagers. Show your face throughout each session, but because we are live on YouTube, I've allowed you to not show your face so that you don't have to show in the public domain. I also want to remind you to remain muted except when you are speaking. Again, we have agreed that you will not be speaking because you do not want your voice on YouTube to be heard, and therefore you can type in your questions and Eben will kindly read out your questions at the time that the questions come up. Don't forget, you can type your questions at any time throughout the training session. You don't have to wait till the end. As you type, Eben will pick it up and she will relate it back to me at the time we come to question time. And for Q&A, please raise your hand or use the emoji buttons. I don't think you'll be raising your hands, except for when we go offline, of course. Okay. And questions and suggestions can also be raised in the chat box. I've already mentioned that. And of course, we've already looked at the agenda. So the 7 habits that we'll be going through over these 7 weeks is habit number 1, be proactive. That's the one we went through last week. And as we went through it, your challenge for the week was to come up with 3 different areas that you know you can be more proactive in, or rather 3 different areas that you were more proactive in. So I've already shared, I think, with the person that joined before we came live. I don't want to mention names because we are live on YouTube. Okay, so because I've already shared with him, I know that he was proactive in different areas. If you were the person I'm talking about, can you just type in your 3 areas that you were proactive in the last week, so that Eben can read it out for us, please? If you can quickly type it for us, that'd be great.
So we've got the 3 activities, which was cooking, dinner, cleaning, and one more. It comes in time. Reading a book instead of watching Netflix.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And nobody had to remind you to read your book instead of watching Netflix. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Okay. Daria?
Darcy?
Oh, Darcy. Okay, sorry, I called your name. Can you please tell the 3 areas you've been more proactive in the week, please? Are you typing it or are you reading it out? You're typing it. Is she typing?
I can't see when people are typing, only once they've
finished typing.
Yeah.
Okay, you keep going with that. So be proactive. Begin with the end in mind is habit number 2. And if we're beginning with the end in mind, we're going to start with beginning with the end in mind, but we'll come to that later on. What does that mean? Habit number 3 is put first things first. Habit number 4, think win-win. Habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Number 6, synchronize. Number 7, sharpen the saw. Okay, so we're going to review habit number 1 very quickly. Principles of personal vision. Be proactive. Principles of your personal vision. So what can you remember? Can you all type in 1 or 2 things that you can remember from last week's session? 1 or 2 things that you can remember from last week's session. We can still be interactive even though we're not live or we're not discussing things as we go along.
Okay, so in terms of other people and what they did, their proactive thing, one person shared that they got themselves organized for the activities, planned time better so they could do their homework in the morning. And okay, so those were the 2 options. And then in terms of the question that you're asking now, what did people learn or can recall from last week? Someone shared be proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah.
Just waiting for any more answers to come through. Have goals, someone shared.
Yes, absolutely.
Plan time.
Plan time, yes. What else? Is there anything else there?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, no, that's fabulous. We'll make do with that and move along. That's fine. Thank you so much for your participation and interaction. Okay, so habit number 1, be proactive. You're in charge of your life. This is what we covered last week. You are in charge of your own life. And it says, I have a can-do attitude and always try my best at everything I do. If you have a can-do attitude, that means you give everything your all And in giving everything your all, you become more, how should I say it? If you have a can-do attitude, that means you are proactive because you believe everything can be done. You believe everything can be achieved. You believe that everything can and be anything that it needs to be. It says, I can do attitude and always try my best at everything I do. So if you're going to be a proactive person, the expectation is you give everything your best. You give everything your best. Everything that you do, you give it your best at all times. Okay. I follow directions and I do the right things without being asked, even when nobody is looking. So this week, I gave you 3 challenges, or last week, I gave 3 challenges, which was this week, try and be proactive in areas. Don't wait for anyone to tell you what to do. Just do it. And you all came back and you've given us and you've shared examples of when and how you have been more proactive during the week, which is fabulous. And that's the way we need to keep it. You don't need to wait for other people to tell you to do something before you do it. You are proactive because you have the habit of being a proactive person. You are a successful person, and therefore, proactivity is part of your human nature. It should be second to none. You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to say, I'm being proactive right now. You just do things. And people will say, oh my God, she's so proactive. Oh my God, he's so proactive. Let other people notice that you are being proactive. And don't say, oh, I mean, initially you're going to say to yourself, how can I be more proactive? You can say to yourself things like that. How can I be more proactive? How can I be proactive? Okay, I'm about to do this thing. How can I be proactive in this current situation? And uh, in that situation, when you start thinking about it, it'll become your habit. And when it becomes your habit, you don't have to think about it anymore. That's it. You've got the habit. You've got it inside you, and that's it. It stays with you for a lifetime. So the more you practice, the more you gain, the more you are able to sustain yourself. Okay, so the last thing that is key in this first habit is I choose my actions, attitudes, and moods and don't blame others for my wrongdoings. I choose my actions, my attitudes, and my moods, and I don't blame others for my wrongdoing. A lot of us like to do the blame game. Oh my God, she did this. Oh my God, he did that. Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that. Oh. Don't blame other people. Just look at yourself and say, I guess I could have done it better. I guess I could have had a better way of doing it. If you do that, you are learning the lesson. You've looked at the situation, you've assessed it, you've looked at, I could have done A, B, C, D better. Therefore, this is now the outcome, but you now know better for next time. And then when it happens the next time, you're better prepared. So some things in life we can prepare for, some things we cannot prepare for. Being proactive doesn't mean that you have to get everything right on time. To be quite honest with you, I'm a proactive person, but sometimes I have this thing they call delayed proactivity. Delayed proactivity. Why do I call it delayed proactivity? Because I want to assess the situation before I now am proactive in it. Unfortunately, this sometimes costs me. Why does it cost me? It costs me because whilst I'm delaying my proactivity, somebody else has gone ahead and done what I'm probably thinking about. But sometimes you can have delayed proactivity to help you think about it, think about the process, and do what is best for you. Not what is best for others, but what is best for you. So sometimes when we're in a meeting at work, I'll use that as an example, and we have to make a decision. Some people are very good. They'll come out, they'll make the decision, and they'll never ever think about it again. That is their decision, and they're standing by it. On the other hand, you get people like myself that vote for something or support something 1 minute, and then the next minute they go back and start thinking to themselves, should I really have done that? If you're like me, then you need to have delayed proactivity. It's for your own benefit so that you don't make the wrong decisions. Remember, this is about you. It's not about anybody else. It's about you. It's about you doing what is right for you. It's about you getting the results that you want and you know is best for you. Okay, so moving on very quickly, we're going on to session 2. Session 2, you're going to have 3 questions and you're going to get a few minutes to answer them. And what I want you to do is for about 3 minutes, so 1 minute per question, I'm going to put the question up on screen. You can see it now. I want you to answer these questions before I talk about you being proactive, beginning with the end in mind. So habit number 2 is to begin with the end in mind. So question number 1, I'm going to leave it on the screen so you can still see it, but I'm going to give you 3 minutes literally. If I'm going to be kind to you, I'll give you 5 minutes, but I'm going to give you 3 minutes for you to go through these questions. But I'm going to ask them now so that it can go in your mind and you can think about it before you put the answers down. So question number 1, what does it mean to begin with the end in mind? What do you think it means to begin with the end in mind? And I want everybody put in 1 or 2 things. Actually, I want you to put 2 things of what you think it means to begin with the end in mind. The second question is, what are the benefits of beginning with the end in mind? What are the benefits of beginning with the end in mind? What are the benefits of beginning with the end in mind? And number 3, sorry, I've missed, it's only 3 questions, so I should have taken out bullet point number 3, so I sincere apologies for that. How can beginning with the end in mind benefit you? How can beginning with the end in mind benefit you? What is the benefit of that? If I say you begin in mind, you begin with the end in mind, how can that benefit you as an individual? So I leave you with those questions. I give you 3 minutes. If I'm kind, I'll give you 5 minutes to answer them. They are there on the screen. And then I will tell you what it is to begin with the end in mind. And then I will answer the questions in the way that I'm thinking about it. And then we move on to actually nailing that habit as a good habit for you to practice. Is that clear, everyone?
I will add that when you're answering the questions in the chat, just put number 1, 2, or 3, so we know which question you're answering.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Well done, Ebby. Okay, so we've just had Zion join us. Zion? Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so let's go. So if you've just joined us, thank you for joining us. If you just joined us, we're answering these 3 questions very quickly. Can you answer question number 1, which is, what does it mean to begin with the end in mind? Number 2, what are the benefits of beginning with the end in mind? Number 3, how can beginning with the end in mind benefit you? How can beginning with the end in mind benefit you? You've got 3 minutes starting from now. And actually, when you come back after the 3 minutes, Ebun, can you take them through the discussion of discussing? Just discuss it. I know you're probably not, yeah, but just discuss. I want you to discuss each point. Don't mention who's written it. Just talk about the points that they've raised. But I want you to discuss it as, the way I am, to say, okay, beginning with the end in mind, we've got, for 1, we've got this, and for you, this is what it means. Okay, I get where you're coming from. So that kind of quick discussion, if you take that for 5 minutes, immediately after they've got all the questions up, and then I'll come back in to take us from there. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine.
It's me trying to give away the questions there. The answers, rather.
Okay, guys, we've got about 2 minutes left, so you might want to move on to question 2 and finally question 3. Okay, let's try and answer question 3 so that we can have a quick discussion about it. Okay, so question 3 is, how can beginning with the end in mind benefit you? So if you can please drop your answers and then we can start the discussion. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I know one person did join us a little bit later, so we were just answering the questions on here. We're about to start discussion number 2. So if I read out the answers for question number 1, question number 1 was, what does it mean to begin with the end in mind? And someone shared, you begin with the end in mind so you know you're doing the right thing. Someone said to start each day with a task. And I think there was one other answer if I scroll up. Have a goal that you want to achieve. Okay. And then for question 2, What's the benefit of beginning with the end in mind? So what's the benefit? And for the answers I got, you can get through the things you don't want to do to get the outcome which you want. Okay. So I think that means sort of if you plan ahead, you can get things done, both the things that you want to do and maybe you don't want to do, but you still get them done at the end of the day. Someone else shared it gives you motivation, and someone else shared you can plan to your goals, so you can plan towards your goals. Okay. And then last but not least, how beginning with an end in mind benefits you. So it gives clarity, someone wrote, gives you focus, and let's see what else. What? And you know why you're doing things. So yes, that makes sense. Let's see what else we can share. So did you
How
guys?
we doing?
That's fine. We've just been through all the answers for the questions. Everyone was able to share something. So did you guys?
What's your answer? What's your answer?
My answer?
Yes.
Me? Okay, so what I understand by what it means to begin with the end in mind, I guess it's knowing the outcome you want to achieve, and that sort of pushes you and motivates you to get to that expected goal. So it's knowing what the prize is at the end of the goal, basically, at the end of all the activities you're doing. And I guess for me, it's beneficial to me because it motivates, like a lot of people have already shared. It keeps you motivated when you know what the end goal is that you want to achieve. So I think everyone sort of shared the same responses about keeping you focused, giving you motivation, gaining clarity, and being able to basically plan your goal, plan your task ahead.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so well done everyone for your contributions there. And actually, you got it quite near spot on. How should I say? You got it spot on, and you did very well. So here's what we're looking at for being starting with the end in mind, and I will then come back to these questions and answer them. So habit number 2: begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Oh my God. Why do I keep jumping up and down the place today? Okay, begin with the end in mind. Have a plan. If you begin with the end in mind, it helps you, it motivates you to put a plan together. So for example, if I'm going to Tesco's, I say, how am I getting to Tesco's? Am I driving? Am I walking? Am I taking the bus? Am I taking a taxi? And when I get to Tesco's, what am I going there to do? What am I going there to do? Am I just going there to hang out? If I take the car, am I going to get petrol? Which it could be the case. Actually, I forgot to buy petrol today because I didn't start with the end in mind. Okay, so the first thing is when you have habit number 2 and you begin with the end in mind, you plan ahead and set goals for yourself. You plan ahead and you set goals for yourself. I always say to myself, because all these habits are part of me now, because not only have I trained myself in it, not only have I read it, but I'm also training other people to master these 7 habits. And it's now become actually a master for me. I've mastered it myself. So I always start with the end in mind. At the beginning of the day, I want to say, what do I want to have achieved by the end of today? In other words, what are all my actions that I must close out today? And I do that. So I look at how many meetings do I need to attend? How many, so I know that I've got this training session today. I know that I've got to send reminders out for each training session. I know that I've got to, I know what I'm supposed to be doing on a daily basis. Those, at the end of the day, those are my daily goals. Those are my daily goals. And you're allowed to have daily goals. It doesn't have to be what you want in 3 months' time, or what you want in 10 months' time, or what you want in this year or next year or whenever. It's actually what you actually want and need and require. So you set yourself goals. Like I said, they can be small goals. Small goals, you do it by the day, by the hour, by the minute, whatever works for you. Set yourself goals and look ahead. What is it that you want to achieve? That is the end that you have in mind. I am prepared at all times. To begin with the end in mind prepares you constantly. You know what you want, you know where you're going, so you're prepared. You're prepared for the journey. You know how you want to get there. You've got your plan, you've got your goal. It prepares you. It prepares you at all times. You are prepared at all times. Nothing will come to you as a surprise. So I'm a project manager. I'm a professional project manager. And one of the things we have to do is to know the projects that we are going for. And in the project that we are going for, we've got to know what we want the outcome of the project to be, roughly. So if you want to build a house, you're building a house, but you're not just building any old house. You might be building a 4-bedroom house, for example. And because you want a 4-bedroom house, what else do you want in that house? So if you look at how houses are created, it's by somebody's imagination. And that somebody starts off with, I think family houses should be 4 bedrooms. And I think if I build a 4-bedroom house filled with 4 people, four double rooms, it could fill potentially up to 6 or 8 people. If I have 6 or 8 people in the house, how many bathrooms do I have that makes sense? That'll be easier for them to handle. Do I want a sitting room? Do I want a dining room? How big do I want the garden to be? So you're prepared at all times. So when you start building the house, you carve out your bedrooms, you carve out the dining room, you carve out the living room, you carve out the playroom, whatever you want in the house. Some people have swimming pools in their houses. You carve it out because you know your goal, you know what the end is, and now you are prepared to get the end results that you wanted when you first started off. So if you wanted a 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool, you've got the land, you've got the building, you've got everything. So you are prepared every step of the way. Nothing's going to derail you from saying, no, I don't want a 4-bedroom. It's got to be a 4-bedroom. So a contractor cannot come to you and say, right, I'm going to build you a 5-bedroom. No, it's a 4-bedroom. That is the end in mind. Though you might say, okay, if you give me a 5-bedroom, lo and behold, if you end up with a 5-bedroom, you might have to give up the swimming pool. You might have to give up the sitting room. You might have to give up the utility room or something. And you've got to be prepared that if they say to you, you have a 5-bedroom instead of, are you prepared to make that trade? You are prepared to negotiate. You are prepared to negotiate with your outcome. Then the next thing is, it makes you think about how the choices you make now will affect your future. Listen, if you know where you want to be, so for you guys, if I say, most of you will be doing either GCSEs or A-levels right now, or you will be preparing to do GCSE or the A-levels. So everybody goes through education, and the minimum education that everybody comes out with is a GCSE. So if I take it back down to GCSE, because I know everybody connected to this training right now will at least be working towards their GCSE or would have done their GCSE. So if I use GCSE, I'm taking you down memory lane. If you're just about to do your GCSE, then this is good enough practice for you. So you've got to think about your choices. Even after your GCSEs, you've got to decide, what choices A-levels do I make? What choices GCSEs do I make? When you are making your choices for GCSEs, you're making it with the end in mind. You're not just picking GCSEs for the sake of picking it, because people will say to you, what do you have an interest in? What would you like to be when you grow up? That's the kind of questions your teachers and your coaches, somebody like myself, would ask you. What would you like to be when you grow up? If you say you want to be a medical doctor, I'm going to say take triple science, or in fact, take 4 times sciences, because that's what you need to be a medical person. If you want to be a lawyer, you're going to have to be very good at English, because they write and read a lot. That's going to have to be your major skill set. So you're starting with the end in mind, is what do I want to achieve? What do I want to become? And how do I get there? Then you start to make the right choices that helps you to achieve the end goal. Then actually you need to also think about the or negative consequences of your actions before you take them. The positive and the negative consequences of your actions before you take them. Look, when we talk about positive and negative consequences, is if positive consequence is I've got homework, I've proactively done my own work, and I've taken my time, I've done the right research, and I've come out with the right results to get me an A. Guess what? The consequences of that is you're going to be absolutely over the moon when you get the A. That's the consequences. But if you know that you've got homework and you've got an exam or whatever, and you don't prepare for it, that's a negative that's a negative action. Therefore, you're going to reap negative consequences. Some people, on the other hand, because they are geniuses, and once they hear something in class, they've memorized it and you never have to say it to them again. But if you're somebody like myself, if I don't prepare, I plan to fail. If I don't plan to succeed, then I plan to fail. So I plan everything, I prepare for everything, and therefore when I come on, everything works together perfectly. So on that note, if you don't prepare and you take a negative action, you are only going to come up with negative consequences, unfortunately. So you have to be careful, but starting with the end in mind helps you to make the right decisions so that you are getting the right results all the time. Why? Because you know what your destination is. So, for example, if you're going to school in the morning, that's your decision. Your end game at the end of the day is to go to school and come back home, and go to school safely and come back safely. So if you go to school, you know how you're going to get to school. Some people are biking it. Some people are taking the new scooters around. I don't know if anyone has any of those. And some people take the bus. Some people, it's their parents that will drive them to school. But they're starting with the end in mind. The most important thing is that you will get to school. If you decide not to wake up on time to make it in time for your bus, guess what? The negative consequences is, can anyone tell me? Because I'm sure you all get to school by bus, or unless you get a ride by your parents. What's the negative consequence if you don't get out of bed on time to get to school? What's the negative consequence? What are we getting?
Miss the bus.
Yeah, you missed the bus, which then leads to, you miss the bus, and then that leads to what?
You are late to school.
You're late to school, yes, and then what? What happens when you're late to school? Is anybody typing?
Yep. Hold on a second. Says your parents get upset with you for not waking up early. Did you catch that?
Sorry, they want what?
Your parents get upset with you for not waking up early.
Exactly. Or the negative consequence is you throw mom and dad off balance because they'll now have to make a detour to their workplace to take you to school. And that is not normally a good thing. You normally get into a bit of trouble from that, from mom and dad. Yeah. So now that you know what a negative consequences, and sometimes they trigger into different consequences. So if you're late to school on a day you've got exams and you're late for your papers to start, guess what? You're not only late to school, you're late to start the exam. You're not going to get extra time. So you've lost time and you might not finish all your questions at the end of the day. Or there's something else bigger than that happening in school. So if you bear that in mind all the time, that negative decisions can lead to negative outcomes. Positive decisions will lead to positive consequences and positive actions. So, especially when you begin with the end in mind, every single time, you've got to make the right decisions as you go along. I know that at your age, sometimes it can be challenging to make a good decision. But a good decision is as simple as when the alarm clock goes off, guess what? You jump out of bed. And guess what? After jumping out of bed, you get in the shower. After having your shower, you get to the bus stop on time and don't miss the bus. That's a good decision. It's sequence, is systems that are already in place to help you to get to your end game, to get to your end game. So I've given you an example there of something very simple. I've made it very simple. So can somebody give me an example? In fact, can you all give me an example of something that you are beginning with the end in mind? What is your end game? Give me an example of your end game. Give me an example of your end game. Are they typing?
Nothing's come through yet. Doing homework so you pass your exams.
Yes. So that's the action. What's the exam? Okay, so passing the exam is the end in your mind. Yeah. That's your end game. Passing your exams is the end game. Okay. What else have we got?
Doing chores without being told.
So what's the end game of that? You get clean laundry on time. So, for example, you can do your own school uniform, wash your own school uniform. Yeah. And that way, you don't have to rely on mom and dad to do it. And that way, you might have a better chance of having clean uniform on Monday morning. Instead of, I remember when my kids were growing up and I would normally do their uniform on Sunday night and then use the iron to dry it. And then if it's the winter, I use the heater to dry it. Sometimes first thing in the morning, because I wake up very early and I'm thinking, oh my God, I didn't do the washing at the weekend. And I start to do that. So if you do things yourself, you're more likely to get it done on time and to your satisfaction. Okay, do we have anybody else that's shared anything else before we move on?
Not yet.
No?
No.
Come on, guys. They're going to wrap it up soon. The quicker you respond, the better, the quicker we finish off for today.
Maybe remind them of the question. It was
what, give me an example of something, your end goal, your end game, your end goal. Give me an example of a goal. Give me a goal, if that's going to be easier for you to understand. No one's typing?
have a plan for the future.
Yeah, but why do you want it? What is the future? What's the plan for the future? So you've got to understand that the end in mind has got to be something like, I get to school on time. Definitive, that's the goal. That's your end in mind. I get to school on time. Yeah? A definitive end of mind is I get straight A's. You might not be an academic, so that might not be for you. But that is your end in mind. The end in mind might be, I want to play basketball for England at the age of 16. That's an end in mind. So you know that you can't afford to play with your basketball. So every time they call basketball training, you know you are there all the time.
We've got exercise so you can stay healthy. So I believe.
So the end game is stay healthy, remain healthy. Yes. Do you understand? The end game is not the process, it's the end. It's the finishing line. What's your finishing line? So if you look at the picture on the screen, it's got I've finished, finishing line. So do you want to be the first to finish first? Or do you want to be the third? Or do you want to be the last? Or do you want to be sixth? What is your end game? So I can say to you, what's your end game to finish this training? At the end of this training, what's your goal? What do you want to achieve by the end of this training? What is it that you want? What's your end game? Yeah. So the end, when you start with the end in mind, actually, I want to be a medical doctor when I grow up. Yeah. If you want to be a medical doctor, you know you're doing sciences all the way through. There's no other subjects for you. So if you don't like sciences, guess what? Hate to disappoint you, you're not going to be a medical doctor. You've got to like it. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to be good at it if you're going to be one. Yeah. So remember, the end in mind is the end thing, the end thing that I want to achieve, that thing that I say, right, this is it. So my end goal might be, I want a brand new car. It's not the process of finding the money for the brand new car. It's not the process of me going to the center to find a brand new car. Is the end game is I've got a new car. Yeah, that's my end game. How I get it, I've now got to be prepared. I've now got to make the right choices to get that car. I've now got to make positive decisions to get that car. Are you getting me, guys? So that is the end in mind, okay? So without me going on and on like a broken record about the end in mind, I'm going to stop there today. And your challenge for this week is you're going to give me 3 goals that are your end games, your finishing line. You're going to think about it very carefully, because what I've noticed here today is a lot of people are giving me iffy answers. I don't want iffy answers. I want proper end game answers. I want proper finishing line answers. Yeah, proper on the top finishing line answers. That's what I want. That's what I need. That's what I require. So next week, I need 3 goals. I'm making it simple. I plan ahead and set my goals for myself. Your end game. What is your end game? So your end game could be, I want to be an accountant when I grow up. So everything you do from now till when you become an accountant is all about becoming an accountant. So it's all about getting my GCSEs, getting my A levels, going to degree, do I need a degree to be an accountant? You know, so you will weigh things like that. So my son will say to me, Mom, I don't want to go to uni. Oh, right. Okay. You don't want, that's fine. If you don't want to go to uni. So what do you want to do? I want to, no, you can't just loaf around and spend mom and dad's money. You're going to have to make, you're going to have to make your own. So what are you going to do to make money? That's his end game. If he says, I want to own my own business to make money, That's fine. That's the end game. How are you going to start? Where are you going to get money from? That's the process. Yeah. So that's all. I'm prepared at all times. That's the choices I've got to make. That's so is he going to borrow the money? He's going to start working for the money and save up the money for the business. Is he going to make positive and negative consequent decisions? What decisions? Not to say that you're not going to make any negative decisions and decisions that will not be beneficial to you, but that is just part of the process. You learn from your mistakes and you can learn on the way. Yeah, but you can still achieve greater and greater and greater things in the process at the end of it all. So that is that. So that's the end of today's session. Don't forget, you've got your weekly challenge. Your challenge for this week is to start with the end in mind. What is your end that you have in your mind? What is your end that you have in your mind? What is your end? So I want 3 ends from you. So it could be, I don't know, achieve 9 GCSEs at grade C's and above, achieve 3 A levels at A stars. It could be get admitted to a certain particular university. It could be graduate with first class. That's your end mind. What is your end in mind, in your mind? What is your end in your mind? That's your, so I need 3 end games from you, please. 3 end games from each of you next week, please, and please, and please, and make sure you turn up, because if you don't turn up, guess what? You're not being proactive. And if you're not proactive, you're not going to get the results that you want or need to progress. Okay, so moving on very quickly. Does anyone have any questions for me? You can, of course, type in your questions should you want to. Please type in your questions or we can have a discussion. We will have a discussion immediately after I bring the, actually, I'll bring this down now. I'll just go onto this. These are contact details. If you didn't take it down last week or you couldn't because you weren't present last week, please take the contact details down now for your own benefit. Just take a screenshot or take a shot or take a picture of the screen. It's got the contact telephone numbers, it's got the email, it's got the website, it's got the Facebook channel, and it's got the Twitter address as well. Okay, moving on. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing. And I guess I'm going to stop recording as well, unless, has anyone typed in any questions for us?
No.
No questions. Okay, so that means you guys are shy. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop recording live. And then, yes, we can have our discussion online, because technically the training is over and it's just the training that actually we wanted to be part of the YouTube recording, so that all of you can go back to last week's recording and this week's recording should you need to catch up. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to stop live recording. So before I stop sharing, actually, I'm going to go back here.